Shavua Tov, everybody. We're going to continue. This is our last learning in the month of Elul. In the month of Elul, we're learning Leilui Nishmat Bani Silver Aleh Shalom Bas Yafega Bas Yisrael by the Engelmann family. Leilui Nishmat Avram Chai Ben Yosef Shimon by the Avram family for the Refuah Shlema. For Moshe Asher Ben Malka Le'Rachel Bas Chaya by the Polstein family. Leilui Nishmat Freda Sima Bas Yitzchak, and sponsored by the Koslovsky family for gratitude for everything that the shul is providing. We're going to hopefully see something that is so shayach to the life that we're living in, the world we're living in. I made sure we didn't say Tachanun this morning in shul. This is a big, big simcha for Am Yisrael, larger than we understand, much larger than we understand, because we're still really, we're still in something so complicated and heavy. So it's hard for us to really figure out what to do with these emotions, but it's very important to just say from the Omek Halev, thank you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for the elimination of such cruel evil and a person that has put our lives, our children's lives, in terror and in fear for so many years. And only a Gullus Dika Jew says, well, but you don't know who's coming to switch him. That's a Gullus Dika Jew. No, we say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, thank you so much for the removal of such cruel evil of the dark side. And I don't know if you've seen, but it's not just Yidden that are very happy today. It's not just Yidden, and it's really wondrous to look at what's going on in the world. It's not just Yidden. This is a simple fight of good over evil, and Bezrat Hashem Yitbarach, we will continue to go into Rosh Hashanah with removing of the Yiratzon that we say, Yitamu Sonenu. It's one of the Yiratzons we say. The Simanim that are ones that want to do bad to us and that hate us are removed from this world, Bezrat Hashem. So that's what, I have no problem with that. Absolutely. All right. So, and it's okay. And my Rebbe's here also, so now we could start. Now we could start learning Moshe Tzaddik Bezrat Hashem. Okay. Here we're going to give out these pages to whoever. All right. Is there any more here? I decided to show up for today. Yeah. Okay, there's more for whoever will come, whoever's going to need. I want to start today to explain today's shir based on a famous story of the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh. It's a story that I'm sure many of you have heard in different variations, but it's a very important story. There was a Talmid of the Baal Shem Tov that wanted to travel to go to Eretz Yisrael. Back then, to travel and to go to Eretz Yisrael was no simple ordeal at all. But he asked a bracha from his Rebbe, the Baal Shem Tov, and in the beginning he said no. Then the Baal Shem Tov eventually agreed and told him, you should be blessed, you should go. But he told him that you have to be very, very careful with any answer that you give anybody. That was what he said. You have to be very careful with any answer that you give. And again, a few different variations of this story. But the one that I recently read is what I'm going to share with you, that this Talmud, on his way, he had an amazing trip, and he was very makpid on everything that whenever anyone would ask him any question, he was very makpid to make sure he answered with consciousness, with awareness, to mamish, to hold emet to what he told his Rebbe, the Baal Shem Tov. Towards the end of his trip, while he was, I think, in Turkey, or he was on some island on the way back, there was someone, he met a Jew on a random island. And this Yid helped him figure out how to make Shabbos in this place, v'chule. And at the end, the Talmud said to him, this random Jew said to him, tell us, how are Yidden doing in Gullus? How are you guys doing out there in exile? And he said, right away, he said, Baruch Hashem, we're managing. So he comes back. This chassid comes back to the Baal Shem Tov, and the Baal Shem Tov doesn't want to see him. Doesn't want to even see him. So he couldn't understand. He thought he'd be so excited to see his Rebbe. The Rebbe would be so excited to see him. And the Rebbe does not. It's a crazy thing. The Rebbe, Baal Shem Tov doesn't want to see him. So one version of the story is that it's Eliyahu Navi, but that happens. That's not how this story unfolded, because the Baal Shem Tov told him. He said to him, I forget his name. He said, "Tell me something. Do you remember what I told you?" He said, "Yes, I was so careful with everything. Every time anyone asked me a question, I was so careful." And he said, "Yeah, were you?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "Well, I don't think you were." He says, "What do you mean?" He says, "Remember that last Jew that you met? Someone asked you, how are you managing in Galut? And you said, yes, Rebbe, I told him, I said, okay, Baruch Hashem, it's hard, but we're managing." So the Baal Shem Tov says, that was Avram Avinu. That was Avram Avinu that wanted to know if his kids had enough of being in Galus. But when he heard that you answered back and you said, it's difficult, but we're managing, that was basically that was the worst thing that anyone could have said, because at that moment, had you said, we're not managing anymore, we're not able to manage, we're not able to deal anymore, then everything would have been shifted and everything would have been turned over. So, had I told you this story a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the Seder would be like, yeah, it's a little bit of Musaf for us. We have to really understand that we can't live without Mashiach, and it should be more in our consciousness. In the world we're living today, it is clear to anyone with their eyes and hearts that's open, she'iyevshar. Sorry, iyevshar yotel. You cannot. That answer is clear. How are you managing in Galut? And I'm not talking about Woodmere or Los Angeles or Johannesburg. How are you managing in a world without Mashiach? To say it's okay, but we're managing is not the right answer. It's not the correct answer. And it also doesn't mean that you're not doing your best. And this is the tension between feeling like we're doing everything we can while the answer still is we're not managing. That's what we're going to be speaking about today. This is a topic that I think about mamish all the time. I'm sure you do too. And the question is, how do we balance the two? How do we hope, anticipate for Mashiach, while wondering, is there room to demand what's called a tvi'ah, to demand from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Mashiach, or do we still sit with the mindset of saying, don't hasten the Geula, you don't want to rush these things, because if it gets rushed, and it's not in the proper time, things get kind of like Malka, what you brought up, I think, a few weeks ago. Like if you're rushing it and it comes and we're not ready for it, or however we understand it, what's the proper approach? So this is a beautiful, as a continuation to what we're learning, to hopefully understand how these two things work together. And last time when we learned is that there's going to be a question that we're all going to be asked when we get to Shemayim. And that there are a few questions we're going to be asked, but the question we were dealing with, that the Gemara teaches us, was the question of tzipita li geula, or tzipita li yeshua. Were you anticipating the salvation and the redemption? Was it something that you were anticipating? Judy, you're here, and I remember something like so clear right now. I was once time sitting with Shimon in the office, and it was after one of the balaganim that were going on here in Eretz Yisrael, and Shalom said to me, he said, Shlomo, I know a lot of Jews that they really had enough of just waiting and anticipating. There are a lot of Jews out there, they had enough of just sitting, waiting, and anticipating. Now, he would never say this, but I'm sure he was talking about himself. And hopefully we fall into that category as well. The question is, how do you function and what do you do? How do you act? What does your Yiddishkeit look like when you're supposed to be thankful and all these things? But on the other hand, you want to be just a protester up to Shemayim and say, mamash, ad kan, zeo, chalas, yifshal yoter, right? So that's what we're going to be seeing today, Be'ezrat Hashem. Litzvot u'litvoa, the bottom of page 48. הציפייה לגאולה היא מהדברים העיקריים המזרזים את הגאולה U'shebizchuta tavo geula. This anticipation for redemption is one of the main things which hasten the geula, and in its merit the geula will come. In its merit the geula will come. Im Am Yisrael eino mitzape legeula chas v'shalom, כאילו הוא מצהיר שהמצב הנוכחי טוב לו. If anticipation for the geula is not part of the way I live my life, it's as if I'm proclaiming that the current situation is manageable and is doable. I had one of these moments over Shabbos. I didn't want last night at the concert to say this. I was starting to hint to it, but because one of my daughters was there, and I wouldn't mention which daughter this happened to, and everyone would think it's her, but it wasn't. It was not Tiferet was there last night, but one of my younger ones, not mentioning names. After the not the siren, but Shabbos afternoon, you heard that big boom. It was about like mincha time. It was like 5:45. So my daughter and my sister-in-law and Tanya and Bina were out in the garden, and they heard, there's like rumbling, and then she looked up and they saw the interception. Anyone else see it? You saw it? It's yeah. And my daughter ran to her room and began the screaming and shaking, and ran to the mamad. She's been living. It's not her bedroom. She's been living in the mamad since October 8th. It's actually Nachman's room, and he shares it with two sisters for the whole year. And these mamadim are they're not that large. So she went into her room, and it was really, really hard. I came home from Mincha before Shalosh Shudas, started cuddling with her and trying to calm her down. And then she said the following thing. She said, "Right, Hashem never punishes us, Abba." She says, "Right, that even those that get killed, they're with Hashem also? They're also with Hashem?" She's 7. I said, in a weird way, I was like, I just said yes to everything, almost everything she was saying. I said, yes. So then she started crying and she said, I am always with Hashem. Hashem is the best. I'm always with Hashem. I'm always with Hashem. So it's a parent's dream to hear a child say, I'm always with Hashem. Not like this. Not this way. That's not the way. That's not our dream. That's not the manner, right? So, do we accept that this is the mitziyut of our children? Asur. Pashut mod asur. Because if I say, no, this is just whatever, growing pains. No, there are other growing pains. Puberty is a growing pain. Normal evolution of life are growing pains. Or if someone, nebuch, and it shouldn't happen to anyone, if someone has a hard time in school, certain situations you could say, those are growing pains, right? This, the mashu acher. If I'm okay with that reality, I'm proclaiming that it's okay. But he says, you're not just saying it's okay, he's saying, ubekach ha'geula nidchet umitakevet. That the redemption then takes its time and gets pushed off. There's a reason why the Rebbe made sure everyone started screaming, Ad Matai. Ad Matai doesn't mean, I'm sitting here and just saying, Ad Matai. Till when? Ad Matai is basically the way we live our Yiddishkeit, this thing, we're not stopping for a second, but the soundtrack of my Yiddishkeit is not just thank you, it's Ad Matai. Until when? Until when? Now part of us, because I'm not sure why this happened, is saying, listen, such a big miracle, not miracle, but such an amazing thing happened. We took out the whole commander unit of the Hezbollah, Yemach Shemam, in 10 days. We took out all of them. Be thankful. Don't be chutzpah Hashem. The difference between Hashem as a father and a father as a father, a human father as a father, is that by the Ribono Shel Olam, he doesn't want you to stop asking when good things happen. Maybe by a parent, when you give them something good, you're like, we're good. We're good. That's not how it is by Hashem. It's a misconception. By Hashem, it's not, thank you so much. It would be, no, I'm not going to say it. Might be Hashem saying, no, say it. Say it. Say it. Go. But by you not saying it, it's like you're saying, I could continue living where it's like, today was a really good day, but it's okay. But maybe I'll have to keep on running back. Who knows what Rosh Hashanah is going to look like, right? That's not a Jewish approach. That's why that's a very, you should know. For me, that's I don't connect to Dayenu. I don't connect to Dayenu. I feel like Dayenu was good until 1948 even, almost. Dayenu it's a very common mechila from Eliyahu Navi, who we hold that he was the one that wrote the Agada. The Dayenu is much deeper than the pshat of why I just said it's hard. It's hard on the outside. On the inside, of course it is. The real tzaddik that has one moment of experiencing, living in the presence of the living God, he says Dayenu and he means it because he's already in the Olam HaEmet. But for us pshutim, Dayenu, it's in a certain way, we need and want much more than that. Fourth line, Lachen, therefore. הציפייה לגאולה, the anticipation for redemption, מזרזת ומקרבת את בואה. The more that I say Ad Matai and that I look at Hashem and I say, Ribono Shleilim, I'm not gonna stop. I'm not going to stop waiting for what you want to give me and anticipating it. This brings the Geula closer. כי כשהקדוש ברוך הוא רואה שבניו מצפים לישועה, הוא נענה לבקשתם ומחיש אותה. Because when Hashem sees that his children are waiting for they're anticipating the Geula, he answers us. And this explains to us why the Satmar Rebbe, Tzchus Yogen Aleinu, held what he held. Satmar Rebbe was petrified and terrified from a Judaism that would stop waiting for the Geula. I know I've mentioned his name many times in the Shir, and it's always to point out how holy his connection was to Eretz Yisrael and to every single Jew. As I've mentioned so many times before, Satmar was a bad word in the world that I grew up in. The Satmar Rebbe, Tzchus Yogen Aleinu, was Kodesh Kodashim. What he was very nervous and scared and felt that it would cause too much din would be if we built a situation where we would be okay with what we built with. Okay, just keep that in mind. We're not starting to darshan right now, Satmar and religious Zionism and everything. And just keep it in mind. So now we're going to understand how when Hashem sees his children that they are waiting and they're anticipating, things start moving really fast in Shemayim. But Midrash Ne'emar, this is a Midrash of the Eicha. Amar Yitzchak lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono shel Olam, Shema en chazara labanim, Heshivo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Al Tomar Ken. יש דור שהוא מצפה למלכותי, ומייד הם נגלים, שנאמר, ויש תקווה לאחריתך נאום השם, ושבו בנים לגבולם. Yitzchak Avinu says, tell me, Ribono Shleilim, I could see, Yitzchak on the Akedah, it says he saw from one corner of the world to the next, but that doesn't just mean he saw that world that he was living in, he saw every generation that would be till Mashiach comes. And he's looking, and he's wondering, is it Ribono Shleilim? Is that at a certain point, is it just this? Is this just it? Like we just got so disconnected and it's done? So Hashem says, listen, there is a generation that is longing, that will be longing and anticipating my Malchut to be in this world. And they will be redeemed immediately. So we've never, on the one hand, it's not on the one hand, I'm just going to say one thing. There was never a door that spoke so much about Mashiach, and there was never a door that's showing by their Mesirus Nefesh that they're willing to do whatever it takes to bring in the Geula as fast and as immediate as our door right now. There was never such a door where you have boys that spend months in Gaza, come home for a breather, and then get sent right back up north. It was never like this before. And there was also never a door of chesed, of Yidden, of Arevut, of having this sense of guarantorship like for each other. I was so moved by something I saw by Rabbi Ephraim Goldberg on Friday. He has this food drive that they put out in front of BRS synagogue in Boca Raton. It is such a Kiddush Hashem because it basically, there's a massive amount of food, and he's basically opening it for anyone that needs anything for Yantiv, Just, it's going to be here. You don't have to show your, it's right, or lavdil, like the ishur from the Rav, like just come and take. This is unbelievable. I was so moved by it. I wrote him. That's mamish olam chesed yimaleh. All these things are accumulating to a door to describe to us that there's a door right now that really wants to have the malchus of Hashem in the world. But our job here in this year is to understand what does that mean and what does that look like. It's easy words to say. I want the malchut, the kingdom of Hashem, to come down and reign on this world. Here we have to understand what that means in order to daven for it and anticipate it clearer, pashut mod, clearer. That's what we're doing in these shiurim. Hatzipiyah, next paragraph, Hatzipiyah gam mishameshet hachana legeula. This anticipation also is used as a preparation for the redemption. HaKadosh Baruch Hu rotze shehageula tavo kegeshem shemarva adama tzme'ah veshelo tinchat chalila al karka adisha. This is so beautiful. Hashem wants the redemption to come like rain that marva adama tzme'ah, that satiates thirsty ground, thirsty land, and not just to come down on a karka adisha. That means like an indifferent state of being. Kasher anu mitzapim legeula mevakshim ota. When we're anticipating geula and we're asking for it, bekach anu mechinim et atzmenu likrata. This is the preparation. This is a very key prerequisite to living a world of geula. Is to anticipate it and to ask it. Now, this next word becomes problematic in different schools of thought. And that is the word tviyah, like we said before. When you want to sue somebody, it's called a tviyah. A tviyah is like a lawsuit. A tviyah is a lawsuit. So look at the topic. A tviyah hi schut. The lawsuit is the schut. But we're going to understand it in a little bit of a different way. A tviyah, the demanding, is the schut. You're okay? Everyone's freezing, or? Yeah. Okay. You guys decide.
Normal that we're cold here.
You would decide. Whatever is good for everybody. I'm fine. Okay.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Hatviyahi hazchut. I would have thought he would have said Hatviyahi disput.
Explain to me the difference.
Well, the application. I'm going to use the word. The application is the right. Okay. Or the application is because we have the right.
Hold on to your question. Let's see how he demands. Let's see how he. Maybe he'll answer. Maybe not. It could be. It could be. Chida. You know who the Chida was? Chaim Yosef David Azulai. Zecher Tzaddik Kodesh Livrocha זכות יגן עלינו. החידה מסביר שהציפייה לגאולה היא הזכות הגדולה העומדת לעם ישראל. He's saying the greatest merit that an am can have is not necessarily the chesed you do. It's not necessarily the chinuch you give to your children. It's not necessarily all the halacha that you keep. But the merit that you have as a people is based on how much you're anticipating the Geulah. That's the merit. We always say it should be a schus, it should be a stus, it should be a merit. The gate should open, it should be in the merit of something. He's saying, to the extent of your tzipiyah, that is the schus that you have in life. Like that's basically the keys to open up locks that you get for things to open is based on how much you anticipate and really believe. Hine zeba. Sheken kaasher anu ba'im levakesh al geula. When we come and ask for redemption, יכולים לטעון כנגדנו שאין זכויותינו מספיקות כדי להיגאל. There could be a taina on us from Shemayim saying, listen, you don't have enough merits that you guys deserve the Geulah. Yeah? There could be a taina like that. That's saying, listen, I'm looking at your cards. I'm looking at, who's on, where you're at, what's in this plot, what's here. It could be, he says, that you don't have enough zchuyot in order to ligael, ulam. כאשר אנו מצפים ומחכים לביאת המשיח, אנו זכאים לגאולה בזכות הציפייה עצמה. But when you come and you ask for Mashiach, you ask for Hashem's Malchut to reign over the whole world. And they come and see, wait a second, the people that are asking are people that were actually waiting and anticipating for it. The Chida says, there you go. There you go. There it is. There you have to have it. In the merit of people that are mamish living a life of anticipation. Now we're going to still have to develop this. What is a lifestyle? What's a day in the life of a person, of an anticipator look like? Because it's easy to just say, well, I'm waiting for it to come. And the pnimius, a person that's anticipating the coming of Mashiach has a certain lifestyle. Their world, their consciousness, their awareness is different. It's a different mindset. Their davening is different. The way they give chinuch to their children is different. The way they approach learning halacha is different. It's a complete paradigm shift in terms of how I understand what it means to be a practicing religious Jew, which is everything we've been trying to do here for so many years. And it's such a big task, it's unbelievable. That's more or less how the Chida is saying that when you come like a person like that, they could see, you lived your life as an anticipator. Yeah, it's gonna be. The thing is, we need to get it. we need that anticipation, whatever that means, to spread throughout the Am. And like we say every morning in davening, Al tiftechu bin divim. What's the rest? Does anyone know? Beven Adam she'ein lo tshua. Where are you putting your trust? Where are you putting your anticipation for a better day? Where is it placed? The anticipation for things to be better, where is it placed? Right? Obviously, it brings the whole question of politics and right in front of our face, saying what do you really think? You see people in Chutz La'aretz are willing to, even here, they're willing to kill each other over opinions on who they think should be the one that's in charge, right? It's a crazy, they're willing to kill themselves over it. But what are you putting your faith and hope and trust in? They're gonna come, you'll come to Shema and they'll say, so were you anticipating Geula? Oh my God, did I? I ran for off. I was the one that got that person elected. I did everything. Saying, okay, that's. I'm sure you believe you did a good thing, and maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But was Mashiach part of what drove your campaign? Was Mashiach, was Geula what drove your campaign or not? Was the redemption? So you'll come and say, but I think so. And maybe there's a voice that says, but did you invest any time trying to understand what that means to live a life where your campaign is driven by a tzipiyah legeula? That's the other question. Yeah.
I think about my son actually when you're saying this, because when my son wants something and I say no, he's relentless. And he'll do everything according to that wanting of what he wants. And it could go on for weeks and never let up.
It's only your son, by the way, now.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know what you're talking about.
100% learn from children their attitude of true targeting what they want. And
no compromising.
And they're so precisely know how to get it in the end. Because in the end they do get it, and I'm probably not the only parent that brings.
You're not.
Okay.
Yes, indeed.
I wanted to say that, I don't know, maybe it's just me, I feel discouraged actually.
Yeah, good.
You said that you want us to
Good.
not to say exactly what I said. I have a neighbor who's mamash living in anticipation for Mashiach. Every action from the moment she wakes up till she goes to bed, I'm pretty sure, I feel a zchut that she's my neighbor in my building.
That's beautiful.
To see somebody like this that's actually living in anticipation and actions of chesed and more than that. Okay, she doesn't have little kids at home, whatever.
Well, that's a huge. Wait. That's like a huge.
But I'm saying that there are people like that around us, but why am I discouraged? Because there are so few. Like, I don't know. Maybe,
So,
maybe I'm
okay,
wrong.
no. First of all, you're not wrong because that's what you feel. That's Aleph. But I'll explain to you something. This is very important. I want us to transform the concept of what it means to anticipate for Mashiach to coming to make it clear that that's not the only way. What you describe about your neighbor, that will discourage most of us in this room. What we're trying to do here is to figure out what does that look like for me, for you, that our way of living, our individual way of living, the way that my family is set up. Listen, she doesn't have your pekalach, you don't have her pekalach. How could you ever be like her in terms of how she does anything in the world? Everyone has their own family. Hashem gave each and every one their own setting, their own DNA, their own nachon. We're all connected, but the way that my awareness and consciousness elevates and expands is different than yours. But here we're going to learn tools how to become people that actually live a life of anticipating Mashiach in our own way, not in a way that discourages.
I'm just saying, like, it's beautiful to see the way she has it.
It's
set.
nachon. It is beautiful. You know, Yossi Piamenta, Avi Piamenta. You know him, the musician, the brother of Yossi Alav Shalom. He answers his phone with the calling out for a coming of Mashiach. Can you imagine if we started doing that? Can you imagine if that's the next thing they say about Shirat David? Those freaks answer the phone with the calling of Mashiach. Okay? He says, so you may think that it's like a Mashiach, whatever. He says, I remember one time he called me for a music something, and I called him back, and it was before before caller ID. It's a long time ago. So he just said, Mashiach, like right away. That's how he answers the phone, and then he says, Misa. Like there are people like this that this is how they live. This is how they live their lives.
I think it also gives us an opportunity for because that could bring up jealousy or like all the other. Why can't I do that? Trying to compare and compete ourselves, rather just be like, wow, amazing. Hashem, please help me find my way.
Exactly. I want to find my way of living a life of anticipating the coming of the Geula. Exactly. Mamash. It'd be such a boring world. Hashem would be such a shallow God if one size fits. Mamash. Okay, let's go back inside. So the Chida said what he said about the merit that we have for Geula is based on our anticipation. He bases it on a midrash. This midrash is from Yalkut Shimoni. Look at the next paragraph. Hu mistamech al midrash. Afilu en beyad Yisrael el hakivui kedaihem lageula bischar hakivui. It's a very important midrash. If all Yid has in this world, like, I don't know how great they are in a lot of areas. I'm not sure how great they are in certain mitzvahs, certain halachot, but the midrash says here, if all a Yid has, if all they could say about themselves is, I never stopped hoping and praying. I always anticipated despite whatever was going on. So the Midrash says, Kedaihem lageula bischar hakivui. They're worthy of redemption. They are, kedai doesn't mean worthy. It means like, it should be that there should be geula for them in the merit of just how much they hoped for it, how much they anticipated it.
Was this midrash the inspiration for our anthem?
I wish. There's a problem with a big problem with the anthem. There's this one thing missing in the anthem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, yeah. So maybe subconsciously it was, yeah. What's the second stanza?
I don't know. I'm saying we should.
A third, yeah. Fourth, fifth, we have to add, yeah. Well, you're saying like Od lo avda tikvateinu. Right, but what's the tikva? That's a lo pashut. It's a trap. It's lo pashut. I know. This is harping on a lot of sensitive chords for me too. The tikva of 2,000 years was not liot am chofshi ba'artzeinu. The tikva was Melech Hamashiach. It was Hashem's malchut to reign in the world. The tikva was not liot am chofshi ba'artzeinu. That's not the Am Chofshi Ba'atzenu is a tikva of maybe like I don't know. Think of another nation. I don't know.
I think that's what's hard to get rid of. Like, at least for me personally.
Yeah.
Like, I was feeling all these feelings. Like, I was thinking Diane knew that we killed Nazarala. Like, I was like, we did that. Like, okay, whatever happens next, like, who cares? Like, that's crazy. Like, that's so beautiful. That's so special. But that's, like, an unhealthy way of thinking. Because, like, it's, yeah, exactly.
There's an
I
end
think
there.
that me personally, stuck in this trap of, like, what's the next
Right.
thing gonna hit? What's the next
Right.
thing, whatever? And almost hard to savor the good things because you're like,
Yeah.
like how, like almost hard to let yourself celebrate to the level of how you should be celebrating.
For sure.
Me personally, so
For
I think
sure.
that's like as a whole, the world where like everyone wants to like, I want to live my little happy life on my little plot of land with my family, and hopefully no one gets sick, and
Right.
nothing bad happens, and we all just stay safe, and we all just like hunker down, And I think it's so hard to break free of that, to know that there's this other thing beyond that. I think, there's this beautiful idea, and we all want it, whatever, but I think to understand the true reality of that is, at least I think for me, a big work,
Yeah, it's I'm so I appreciate you saying that, because it's by all of it. We all want what the radio always says, even though it's not what we should want, which is yamim shketim yoter. I don't really want yamim shketim. I want the loudest yamim, the loudest days of the blowing of the trumpet. It's not going to be quiet. It's going to be loud. It's going to be beautiful loud. It'll be like mamash kolot ubrakim, like Mount Sinai wasn't. Each family chilling, but because of our mental health, it's a very legitimate, natural ratzon to just be like, I just want my kids to not have to have conversations about people that get killed. They're also with Hashem. That's a normal thing to want.
I don't think people are asking for that anymore here.
Asking, right? I think we have. I think people understand it's not going to happen like that. Yeah.
It's a bigger.
Yeah, I think people here, I think by now the shift of consciousness has become like, until all these Nazis are also out of here, the ones that live right next to us in Beit Lechem, it's not going to be good. Until we live in an Efrat that allows Nazis to come in to build our homes, it's not going to be like that. We are coming to a shift of consciousness. It stinks, it's painful, but it's worthwhile. It's worthwhile. And that's part of living a tzipiyah legeula. That's part of living in anticipation for the redemption.
Snow globe.
Namash. Yeah, yes.
I mean, I think one of the reasons it's so hard for us is because we've spent most of our lives working on the midah of being happy with and content with what we have. And it's also
Right. Right.
It's a conflicting thing to be happy. Like everything Hashem gives you,
Right.
Hashem, I'm happy with my lot, and then
Right.
on the other hand, none of this suffices. None of
That's
this
very good what you're saying. It's a very interesting contradiction, nachon, because we always push the inyan of gratitude and being happy with what you have. Don't look at your neighbor, v'chule, v'chule, and that's a very godly and holy midah, which what we say. But on the other hand, Hashem does not want you to say, Hashem, the reality shouldn't be Hashem's, he send the malach, he's saying, tell me, do you want more? Good? No. I learned that it's really, the holiest thing is just be happy with what I have. We have to understand what that means as well, which we're going to be doing here. Being happy with what you have and being shalem with the blot, that a portion that Hashem gave you, that's not necessarily speaking about dreams for the future. That's speaking about the gifts that you have in your life, or lack of in certain times as well. Now, here's a very important thing. The Torah does not say, the Mishnah doesn't say, Ezu Ashir Hasameach B'ma she'en lachaver shelo, which means you cannot, or nor should you be okay with someone else's lot. Like, you could be happy that people have other things. That's how we usually learn that. We do a drush on that. Be happy that people have good things. But when someone else is suffering and there's a world where people are still in pain, there's no contradiction between being happy with your own lot while demanding from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, tavi kvar ta'or, bring the light, bring the whole light down. Yeah.
I'm sure this has been addressed, but like, how is it sanely possible to be in the state of Tzipisa and Yeshua when you keep really genuinely believing that, and then it just keeps not coming? I know it's like obvious we all feel this way, but like, it's really the question that I always ask. Like, it's not humanly possible to keep feeling that way. It's almost insane.
So I'm going to answer a very brutally honest answer. Sometimes when you don't have really a good answer to tell someone, you say, okay, so just we'll keep on learning, and in hopes that question goes away, and then you just go to a different. But that's the point of this sefer. We're going to be learning this for months and months, because what you're bringing up is something that we're all in. Now, well, you grew up a shtickle Chabad, so it's a little bit different, but the people that grew up in Crown Heights in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I don't know how they function. You have to understand, Chevra, that when the Rebbe was saying what he was saying, the Rebbe was saying what he was saying about the Geula in 1989, 1990, 1991, these things were like, people had nervous breakdowns. People mamish lost it after Gimel Tammuz. They really did, and we would too if we were there. Many of us would too. We were there and we were around, and yet we're in a Hashem put us in this generation right now to understand how to take all the Rebbe's words and understand that by a tzaddik's concept of time, it's like God's concept of time. When you say you're very close, we say pasuk in Tehillim, ke'elef shanim be'enecha kiyom esmo, that 1,000 years in our lives is like yesterday by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it's true. We have to come up with a new form of relating to time, because otherwise, you're right. We've been waiting for so long. My grandmother waited. I always felt that it can't. I once heard Rav Weinberger say this on Tisha B'Av. He was crying. He was crying his eyes out Tisha B'Av morning about 7-8 years ago, and he says he cannot accept. It can't be that Mashiach's going to come after there aren't any more survivors left.
I said to my grandfather recently, I'm like, okay, Papa, don't worry, Mashiach is coming. He's a survivor.
Right.
He said to me, okay, Shatzi, that's what we said also. Like, he actually was really sad. He was just like, we thought so also. We didn't think it was possible.
Nachon. So we have to strengthen ourselves. It's
but
almost...
You're still here, and it's still coming.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
okay, Shatzi.
Good. Baruch Hashem. I think that what we're living through right now is all, I don't like to say it's all indicators that it's about to happen, because I believe so much that the it's about to happen is so dependent on us. Not just waiting, but the active way that I wait and hope and live my life is the shutfut, is the partnership in the bringing of the Geulah. So maybe we got so hit so much in the past that all we could do was just really wait. The Rebbe didn't wait. The Rebbe didn't spend a second thinking about yesterday. The Rebbe was only about, yalla, go and conquer the world. We have to conquer Eretz Yisrael, I think. I'll be very brutally honest. We have to conquer this land. And I'm not just talking about physically. We have to conquer the land with such love. With like wild, like a tikkun for San Francisco 67. Like there was wild love that we don't want to ever know of such things anymore. But wild love, like mamish, emes, a holy, pure love. And conquer this land actively, to conquer it. That's a way of showing a tremendous amount of anticipation, I believe, for the coming of Mashiach. Because anything that I do that's not involved actively, it's very easy for me to go to the place that you went to. Listen, my grandmother, the Chevra that have been here for years, I've heard this so many times, but it's beyond me that Mashiach didn't come in my grandmother's lifetime. I don't understand. She jumped off the train on the way to the gas chambers. Like Hashem, I come before you and I say, mitzad, just the simplicity of a grandson thinking about his grandmother's pain, saying, how could it be? How could it be that she didn't live to see Mashiach coming? Yeah, she was married and had a kid. My father has 3 siblings, had 3 that he never met. Like I have 2 uncles and an aunt that I never met. They were, my grandfather was married, he had 2 children. My grandmother was married, she had a kid. So 3 kids that never met. What kind of world are we living in that? So Hashem, what do I understand about Darkei Hashem? But I just know we're alive, we're here, we're living in Eretz Yisrael, and we have a koach that is just, it's just unbelievable. And we're davening to Hashem, please use our koach, that we use it in the way that hastens the coming of Mashiach. And then Mashiach will come, and then you'll explain to me why it had to be this long, but then I won't care. That's what's going to happen. Like even like it says, the Gemara says, Eliyahu is going to come and he's going to mitaretz all the kushiyas, all the questions and shilas and shuvas that the people didn't have answers for in the Gemara. But there's going to be a lot of other things Eliyahu is going to have to come and give answers for about why things had to happen. The only thing is, it won't matter. We can't understand that kind of reality, but it won't matter. These are very deep things. I just want to move forward a little bit more before the shir ends. So this is what he says over here about the schut. Like only if I have a kivui. Yeah, this all started about that from Hatikva. No, but it's good. These are what we're here to learn, not just to say we went through Chomer, but to look at what Hashem placed in our lap in our lifetime. And now another source. Reb Shimon bar Yochai af omer, he says in Midrash Tehillim, Ki he'eder tzipiyah v'bakasha al ha'geula me'orer kitrug kashe. You know what awakens an intense prosecution? When there is no waiting and anticipating and asking for the geula. And this is what he says. Kol otan alafim shenaflu b'milchama b'yimei David lo naflu ela al shelo tavu binyan Beit HaMikdash. It's a heavy statement. All those that fell in the time of David HaMelech's wars, they fell because through their battles, part of the maybe the consciousness of what they were fighting for wasn't over the binyan Beit HaMikdash, just military victory. Ve'lo dvarim kal v'chomer, umayim elu shelo haya Beit HaMikdash benehem, v'nechrav b'imeihem, na'asa lehem kach v'ne'enshu al shelo tavu oto, anu shecharav b'yameinu, ve'ein anu mitablim alav, ve'lo nevakesh alav rachamim al achat kama v'chama. So this is about Reb Shimon bar Yochai's time. He's saying, so those that the Beis HaMikdash, they didn't have a Beis HaMikdash in their time, and it wasn't destroyed in their time, and they were punished for not demanding it. Us, Reb Shimon bar Yochai says, that had a Beis HaMikdash in our time, and it was destroyed in our time, and we're not mourning over it, and we're not going to ask Rachamim over it, how much more so is that even so much more prevalent, So for 2,000 years, there wasn't a door that could say, we had the chance to mamish build a Beis HaMikdash and bring Mashiach. Up until 1948, there wasn't a voice that could actually say that. It can't be we came back to Eretz Yisrael to pride ourselves with democracy. That's one of the biggest chilul Hashems that could ever be. And it's dangerous stuff that we have to uproot from the shoresh of the concept of Aliyah, Zionism, Eretz Yisrael. That's not why we can't. Uganda would have been spitz for that. Amazing. Perfect. We came back over here in our time because we have the opportunity to conquer the whole land and set up shop for real, for the platform for Mashiach to come and build the Beis HaMikdash. That can happen in our time. Right? Is the silence just skepticism? Mehmet, I'm saying. I'm not saying it is. Okay, I'm not saying it is. I'm saying it can, meaning on a practical level, it can't. This sitting in this room over here right now, learning Torah Sunday morning at Rosh Hashanah, was as unfathomable back to our great-grandparents like the Beis HaMikdash being rebuilt. You understand? Mamash. Same thing. And we have to understand that, like, if this is possible, right, then who tells you to stop here? Weiter, the whole way, ad asaf. Yeah.
So I'm thinking about the graph. He sent people over. They didn't just come here to sit and learn Torah. I believe that they came here to try to build a Beit Mikdash, at least to try to encourage the tzipiyah.
Right. Good. It's about Talmidei Baal Shem Tov also.
Right. But in other words, it didn't start in 48. And the fact that other Gorim took over.
It didn't start in 48, but the life that we're living in, right? We don't live in Mea Shearim. The children here go to the army. We're in a society. We're part of the tzibur that's fighting, actively fighting for the land. So in our consciousness of, like, after the 6 million, the possibilities of dreams to happen, unfortunately, through so much pain, sweat, and tears, is a real thing. That's all we're saying. That's all we were saying over here.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm very scared of the reputation I'm building in this room, but I can't help it.
Since when are you politically correct, Malcolm?
When you talk about, like, believing that it's possible, I'm sure that you know, and I'm sure a lot of people here agree with me. It's not that it's possible; it's that there is, like, a very powerful sense that it has to happen right now. Like, and there's a deep frustration that it's not happening right now. When we get back to the topic of Mashiach, I guess one of my questions is could Mashiach, or the concept of Mashiach, ever be used as a way to distance that urgency rather than to make it more immediate? Do you understand what I'm saying? Sometimes I feel that there is a synergy between the idea of Mashiach and building the Beit HaMikdash and Geulah. Obviously, those things go together. But sometimes some people separate those things. They make Mashiach into someone who's in charge of all that, and we're just, like, waiting, right? And we wait, and we do chasadim, and we, like, learn our Torah, and all that stuff obviously is beautiful and so important and everything. But sometimes Mashiach is used as an excuse to not do the things that one could be doing to make the Mikdash happen. That's where I sometimes have, like, a friction with the idea of Mashiach. And obviously I'm getting it wrong. I'm sure it has to be. But that's my problem.
We have to learn inside the Rambam to understand the order of things, because a lot of the things that you have a frustration with, you're going to have a hard time with the Rambam. You're going to have a hard time with the Rambam because it's written out very clearly. And look, all of Yiddishkeit today, and all schools of thought, it's all based on the Rambam. Like, both by the Hasidim and the Misnagdim, the Svardish, like, it's all through there. So what's great about the learning we're going to be doing is we're not throwing out ideas. It's all source based. It's all text based to show us, okay, are we getting it right? Are we not getting it right? But one thing's for sure: the Rambam, no matter what he ends up saying, would never say, and because Mashiach is the one that is the great fixer, chill. Like, there's no way the Rambam's ever going to say that. So that should make you feel a little bit better, because there's no way that any halachic authority, any Torah authority would ever tell a Jew regarding anything that has to do with the Geulah, there's someone that's just going to come and clean up shop. But, in the same token, there is a reason why most of the Rabbanim, for the last thousands of years, have said to not go and build a Beis HaMikdash. Most. I didn't say all. Most. We have to learn these things inside, and not just based on regesh, on feeling and emotion. And these are good things. Don't worry about reputation. This is good stuff. This is like things that are help us. This is sharpening. This is the base Medrash. This is like, how do you think the Gemara would? Imagine if, like, Reish Lakish or Abaye and Rava were worried about the reputation because they had an opinion that went against, Rav Shlomo. This is Torah Sheba'al Peh, so it's good. It's good. There's just two things here that will never like be tolerated: Sinas Yisrael and rational Judaism. If you have something not nice to say about Yidden, there's no room in here. And when you go the rational route, that can pluck a person out of the world of Emunah. There's no room for that either. But besides those two things, these are good things to grapple with. So again, when you learn the Rambam inside, we'll see how it's complicated because of the order of things and the role of the, so to speak, great fixer. However, that does not exempt anyone from being a Mashiach Dika Yid to the best of their ability with the tools that they have. How's that for now? For now, I'm saying, because but it's good.
Keep showing up.
Yeah,
To work it out, yeah.
yeah. I just want to do this last thing over here. I know it's already late. Umosif Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, and Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai adds, "Lefichach hitkinu chasidim rishonim shayu mitpalelim shalosh tefilot biyom." So therefore, we have three, like Chazal instituted 3 davenings a day, every day, and in the davening it says, it's a little bit different today. Hitkinu bo ana rachum berachamecha harabim hashev shchinatcha leTzion. V'seder ha'avodah l'Yerushalayim. It could have been that the original manuscript of Tefillah didn't necessarily have these words, but they were very makpid to add in there, saying, Hashem, in your great mercy over us, restore the Shekhinah to Tzion and the way that a Yid does the avodah in Yerushalayim, which means, what is Seder ha'avodah? It's not a good Rishay Ribo song, Mechila. It's Beis HaMikdash. Seder ha'avodah l'Yerushalayim. V'tiknu boni Yerushalayim, and the bracha of boni Yerushalayim is a bracha b'fnei atzma, b'tfilah v'berkat hamazon. Reb Shimon bar Yochai is saying the reason these things were placed in the davening and in berkat hamazon is because a Jew was able to feel okay about his Yiddishkeit if his Daled Amos was in peace. But it's almost like saying, until Mashiach comes, the reason why we have boni Yerushalayim in davening, or Retzeh Hashem Elokeinu Amcha Yisrael, V'lisvesam she'eh v'ashev v'sa'avod g'dei b'secha. And the reason you have Uvnei Yerushalayim in benching is, say thank you, be grateful. Don't ever tell Avram Avinu, it's okay, we're managing. And we're living in the tension between those two worlds. But you have to understand, that tension produces, it's like olives. That's the refine, it's like taking an olive and crushing it. And mamish, the oil that comes out is the shemen zayid zach katit lamaor. This tension is what produces the most beautiful yid, the tzura, the form, the shape of the most beautiful yid that's living between these two worlds of thank you, wow, awesome, incredible, and you want me to be uncomfortable until the great day comes. That's where we're at. So we're going to stop here. Be'ezrat Hashem. Next week, I know next week seems like a whole world from now.
Next year.
But we have a special teacher that's coming to who's going to do it just for the men because of the Beis Midrash program, but I wanted it to be for the whole Kehillah, men and women. And Rav Rimon is coming to our shul next Sunday morning. It'll be at 9:30, I believe. I'm not sure if it's social hall or main shul, but that'll be very important for everyone to come. So we'll reconvene whenever that ends up happening. We'll probably, we'll learn Thursday next week, a week from Thursday. We'll do a Achana for Yom Kippur Shir, and this we may only come back to after Sukkot, actually, now that I think about it. Because it won't be, but it'll just give us time to...
By then there'll be
Mark.
a Mikdash and everything.
Amen.